What coach would you be willing to give a 14-year deal to? And I got to say, I started with, David Sampson, nothing personal. I was going for sort of his approach to this. And the very first thing out of his mouth is he said, let me count up the MVPs that he's got. Oh, wait, I'm done at 0. Let me count up the World Series that he's got. Oh, wait, it's 0. So I kept that in mind. I was like, all right, well, you don't have to have won a national championship yet to be able to get in on this deal. I've got 2.5 coaches in mind. Who wants to jump first at this? Who would you give a 14-year deal to as a college football coach here in 2021?
Well,
it's got to be at their current school, right?
Well, I was also going to say, first of all, we've got 3 coaches with 10-year deals in roughly, because we have Jimbo got 10.75, Dabo's currently on 10-year 93, and I'm assuming Saban would be there. And I think Saban would be the number one option where you'd say, but even at his age, I'd be like, yeah, throw it in. We'll give him the back end. Like he'll figure it out. Like Tom Brady's playing until he's 43. Saban can coach till he's 85, whatever the age is.
And that's the yeah. I didn't consider Saban for this because I'm just treating him as if he's already on a lifetime contract anyway, because he's going to be there until he decides he just doesn't want to be there anymore.
So
Dabo is where I would go first, because what was Clemson before Dabo and where is Clemson with Dabo? I'll keep that guy for 14 years if I can. My second option was Lincoln Riley.
That was my number one, without a doubt.
And I think those are the 2 obvious choices, and I'm more interested in seeing where you guys went with names outside of those 2.
All right, so I was thinking guys who are going to be hot on the market this coming fall. Like for me, Cincinnati, Luke Fickell. What's the chance Cincinnati's going to do a better job than Luke Fickell once he leaves? So I want to lock Luke Fickell up 14 years before he hits the open market, which is what the Padres did with Tatis. I mean, they gave him a boatload of money, but they also gave him, a lot less money than he would have made if he had waited until he became a full-blown free agent. So him, and then Billy Napier at Louisiana was the other one. Like, how often is Louisiana's coach going to be the dude that a lot of SEC schools want, which is probably going to happen this coming offseason, since we already sort of saw it happen this past offseason. So I think those 2 for me are 2 obvious ones. Like, is it a guarantee they'd be great? But I want to lock them up for as long as I can.
See, can I make an argument against that, though?
Sure.
Because if I'm going to lock up Luke Fickell for 14 years, or I'm going to lock up Billy Napier for 14 years, I have to pay them at a level commensurate with keeping them interested in being here forever. Because, let's be if Luke Fickell keeps doing what he's doing at Cincinnati, when the Notre Dame job comes open, or the Ohio State job comes open, or Michigan, or any big job that comes open, he's going to be at the top of the list for it. Same with Billy Napier, particularly in the SEC. Any large SEC job comes open, Napier, if he's still doing what he's doing at Louisiana, is going to be at the top of the list as guys to come in. So they're going to have these offers coming. So I don't know if I want to give them 14-year deals specifically at the price I would have to pay them to do it, because what if it doesn't work? 14 years is a long time. Now, what happens if Billy Napier craters in year 5, year 6, year 7, and now I'm stuck paying a guy who that's a lot of money for me at Louisiana to pay a coach the money that I probably had to give him in that contract. And I feel like that could be I don't have Auburn's boosters to come around and get me out of that one.
Can I just say, I don't think I would give anyone one. Just for official, to Tom's point, go look at Bryce Harper. You think the Phillies are happy with the money they spent yet? Not yet. Will they ever be?
Yeah, I think so.
I think they
are happy with it.
Yeah,
yes.
for sure.
With the return on it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think
Bryce
so.
Harper ain't been the problem. If you look at it from a war, I'm going to get all baseball time on you. If you look into it from a war perspective, Bryce has been worth the contract.
He's been a value.
But does it translate to championships? That, to me, if I was an ownership or a fan, I wouldn't care less. Mike Trout, is his contract worth it? Yes, because he delivers, but the team sucks. He hasn't even made the playoffs for one time.
But that's the same thing about Bryce Harper.
Right. But that's my point. I would rather spread out the money and have a better team in place, which, again, we're getting a little bit off topic, so we'll get it back on. The question I would have for you, Bud, is is this real contracts, or is this like the 10-year deal that FAU gave Lane Kiffin? Because remember, he signed a 10-year extension with FAU, and I remember that because I was in Boca, and it's just for show. Like, are you trying to just keep these coaches happy, or are they like, these are probably going to get bought out if they're succeeding in their deals, so there's really only downside?
So I can see it. Danny thinks I'm trying to lawyer him. I'm just saying like legit contracts here, not these fake contracts, not the Harbaugh extension, or the Lovey extension. Gosh, without any additional buyout. I think these are real extensions. Like if you're Louisiana, if you're Cincinnati, would you be willing to kind of go all in and say, hey, like we're gonna scrape the money together and find it if you'll sign this thing? Like that's kind of the way I approached it.
No one said Ryan Day.
I was going to, but I was waiting for Danny to go, but then he said he didn't want to pick anybody.
Because I think that Ryan Day has already proven enough. And I think that Ryan Day can, like, and even with the very short sample size, even if you think that,
Urban's players.
Yeah. Even if you want to allege that this is just like, or even behind the secret sauce, where it's like, it's a Mark Pantoni, Mickey Mariotti, like, I still think that Ryan Day at Ohio State, that is a fit that can continue to win Big Ten championships, compete for national championships. And you'd be willing, as Ohio State, as Gene Smith, to sign up and be like, all right, we'll let this thing rock for 14 years. Now, that might be bad for Luke Fickell, but it sounds like Luke Fickell's already got a 14-year deal over there at Cincinnati. But I think that Ryan Day has proven that he'd be worth the heavy financial investment.
I got 3 for you that I want to bounce off you guys.
Cool. I got a couple more too. You go first.
All right. Would you give these contracts to Kirby?
No.
Would you extend Jimbo for 14 more, or Mario?
4 more,
14 more, like a new 14-year deal from this point forward.
No.
See, you'd be locking up Jimbo's 55 to age 69 seasons.
No,
I wouldn't do it.
No, me neither.
No, I'm not paying.
I'm still skeptical on if he can get it done in this contract.
Yeah.
You know who I would do it? One team, like a team that's not even somebody I think we would consider to ever be a national title contender. If I'm Wisconsin, I would give Paul Chryst a 14-year deal, because I already have seen what he's been able to do since he's come there. And as somebody who was there already, who knows the formula and knows how things work, if he's interested in being there for 14 years, I don't see why I wouldn't give Paul Chryst that kind of job security, or whatever you want to term it, because I would be happily keeping him there for as long as he wants to be there. Now, Jim Leonard probably wouldn't be super excited to see Paul Chryst sign a 14-year extension, but I just think that if I'm Wisconsin and I'm seeing what I've already, if I would just want to keep the continuity of what I have and what I've already built, keep the guy that already knows how to do it.
So nobody weighed in on Mario. Would you give Mario Cristobal that 14-year deal?
No.
So I think
I'm a known
like
Mario hater.
Dude, Oregon fans are unhappy with our response to Pac-12 questions.
Oh, can I address that?
Yeah, we need to take that. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
I read that, whether it was SCO Ducks or SCO Ducks, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. How am I hating on Pac-12 fan bases? Like, he says that I continuously hate on Pac-12. I don't hate on Pac-12 fan bases. I hate on Pac-12 leadership. I have nothing against the fan bases. I hate Larry. Well, I don't hate him. I just give Larry Scott shit because Larry Scott was terrible running your conference into the ground. That's the way I see it. I don't hate on you.
Tom, I think this one might have been directed at me this time. He said, what does the USC needs to get back on top with Oregon at number 2 even mean? What's wrong with Oregon being on top? This is in our discussion of how does the Pac-12 get back to relevancy. Look, man, the league is going to get a lot more respect if it's like a super famous brand, the one that has actually won national titles, has produced millions of Heisman Trophy winners, and like been a legendary college football program for decades, as opposed to new money. If that's the team on top and your new money is your sort of supporting actor in that league, and they're both really damn good, you're going to get a lot more support rather than Oregon being on top and USC is your number 2, because the implicit bias is always going to be, wait a second, is Oregon really this good, or is USC just kind of down? Is USC not operating at peak efficiency? That's what it means. I mean, Dave FUXX, who asked us the question, like, that's kind of what it is, man. If Oregon wins a couple national titles, then we might not be saying that anymore. But people do look at that league differently when USC is not the one on top.
Yeah, there's no doubt Oregon has been the premier program of the Pac-12 for the last decade, but the premier
Well,
program of the conference through its history is USC.
but I would say if Oregon won a national championship, like, don't you think before Clemson, Florida State was the standard bearer, right? They had to carry the ACC, and Clemson was getting closer. And then it's completely flip-flopped where Clemson's the standard bearer. You kind of hope Florida State comes back. Do you think you could see that type of shift in the Pac-12 if Oregon won multiple national championships? They could carry the conference, which I think is fair. I think they could.
Yes.
I think they have enough of a brand.
Right now, Oregon is Virginia Tech of the 90s when they joined the ACC. Like, they're getting to the ACC title game, they're winning it. But what did people say when the Hokies were winning the ACC? Right? It's like, oh, Florida State and Miami are down. Like Virginia Tech played for a national title. They had Michael Vick. They almost won it. Oregon almost won a national title with Mariota, but they didn't quite get it done. They're kind of in that same mode now. Don't take what I'm saying here to say that Oregon is the Hokies, because clearly they're a better program now than Virginia Tech is, but it's kind of the same situation.
I think also when you think about giving out, here's the question I would have for Tom on Paul Chryst. When I think of coaches you'd want to give a 14-year deal to, you're worried about them either jumping to the NFL or getting drawn away to another place. That's where the Lincoln Riley comes up, because he always gets courted by an NFL team, supposedly behind the scenes. Would that happen with Paul Chryst? Like, do you have to give him a 14-year to get him to stay? That's why I would say you probably don't have to.
No, you don't have to. I don't think Wisconsin needs to worry about Paul Chryst leaving for another job at any point, but I just think that kind of a statement of intent more than anything. Because I don't think you'd have to give Paul Chryst like a 14-year, $140 million deal to get him to stay in Madison.
Yeah, interesting little known fact. Paul Chryst actually has to come by Barry Alvarez's office every Friday to pick up his check, like it's allowance for the week. And he says, "Thanks, Dad," and he just goes off and takes it home.
There are people who think that program runs basically regardless of head coach, and that it's kind of Alvarez running that thing.
Yeah,
but he won't be there forever.
But yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, I feel like Paul Chryst might replace Barry Alvarez. You know what I mean?
And I think
that though, from an athletic director,
No.
like what can he do to keep the program rolling that much?
Listen, I think Barry Alvarez built that program. Barry Alvarez made Wisconsin football. He put in the blueprint, and he gave the blueprint to his assistants in how to maintain it and keep it going. And he's still there, I think, as a sounding board and somebody who is involved in the program. But I think Brett Bielema, Paul Chryst, those guys are able to run it. Gary Anderson was trying to stray from the script, and Gary Anderson was gotten rid of quickly.
Yeah, I think that it's almost a throwback to like the 1970s, where the former coach just walks off, becomes the athletic director, and is, still coming by practice and breaking down things on the chalkboard. Like very, very thorough. I mean, very classic. I've got two that are fits that are so strong. I don't even know if they would leave, but I wonder if you were these universities and they're paired together. Kyle Whittingham, Kalani Sitake. They might stay for 14 years, even without needing a 14-year deal. But I don't know if you're going to find better fits for those two jobs than what they have in place.
I think Whit makes some sense, kind of in the same Paul Chryst mode. I don't know if Sitake is there yet for me.
Yeah, I don't think Sitake is. I mean, was he hot seat entering this season? Like
yeah.
They weren't in love with him.
Thought that was 2 years ago.
Maybe it was 2 years ago.
Maybe, but the point is he's been on the hot seat, and there has been interest in Whittingham.
Right.
It wouldn't have shocked me a couple of years ago. Like, Utah's had a couple good seasons now where they're back on an upward trend. But I thought for a while with Whit, we were going to see something like what we saw with Bronco at BYU going to Virginia.
Like, at some point, he just sort of feels like he's hit his ceiling, and he's
done what he can, and maybe he was going to try to do something else. But it's a different situation, obviously, because BYU didn't have a path to the playoff, whereas Utah does have a path to the playoff. But I think Whit at this point, I think there was a window for that possibility. I think we're past it now. I think he's just at Utah now.